And what is going on? It is real Spiel time here, May 19th, Monday night, 11 p.m. live. I am Trevor Kelsey and joined by the Michael Jordans to my Scottie Pippen. That is Roman Kelly right down there. And the other one, the Vanilla Power over to the right, Will Wigginton. Gentlemen, it's been too long, but we've got some time to talk. Neither of us have to be up early in the morning tomorrow. Halliburton's already done his little plug for the video game on Raw, which was worthless. And we've got some shit to get into. But first of all, how have you guys been?
I've been good. Been working, NBA playoff watching, losing money on FanDuel and DraftKings, or it feels like making it and then losing it, But just living normal. How about you, Will?
Pretty good. Just school and work. Haven't really been betting too much. Actually, the last two bets I made were on the Pacers to beat the Cavs in games 1 and 2. And I decided to sit on that and not make a bet for the rest of the playoffs. So
I would be remiss not to point out that, yes, Roman apparently is on remote. I don't know if that's like some, artwork, like Stargate designs behind you, but he's on remote, so that is that. In case you're wondering, no Kobe jersey behind him, and Will with no game behind him this time. But it looks like his Roku is on pause, so that is always a good thing.
Yes,
is that what it is.
I'm on location. I'm on location at the girlfriend's house right now. Got the virtual girlfriend set up in action right now. Can't complain. Webcam doing me justice. It looks like perfect little backdrop. Got my portable mic I keep on me in the backpack. So
well,
I'm feeling good.
Luckily for everyone, I am never leaving my house, so I am stably still in the same place I have always been, and probably still sitting in the same position I was when we last did this show. But while you two guys, at least one of you all, is on the move, let's get into a little segue with that to the news with the Louisville Cardinals. Obviously, the transfer portal is a living, breathing thing that goes in and out. That sounds sexual, but that's all right. And today Louisville got the news of a new member through that portal, through the way of the NBA of Africa, I believe, if I'm saying that right, hopefully PC correctly. Mohamed Camaro. Will, am I using that name correctly?
you were so close.
Oh, God.
You said Camaro. I
Camaro.
Or Camara. It's like Alvin Kamara, I guess.
So it's a hard O? It's a Camaro?
No, A. You said Camaro, but it's either Camara or Camara. So there's an A on the Camara.
I was sitting there thinking it was like the car.
If only. It would have been cooler. But
I was at least closer than Saigon this time.
It was close enough.
That being said, I may not know his name just yet, but I hopefully will learn it if he, does good well enough to. Have either of you gentlemen had a chance to watch any film on this young man yet?
I've watched a little bit. I broke down a little bit of what I could find. Couldn't find a whole lot. Will, you probably able to find more than I have been able to. But
you're telling me the coverage of the NBA Africa League is not worldwide?
It's the NBA. What is it? The NBA Africa Academy? Is that the official name?
I mean, if you watch their games, it looks like they're playing in church league almost half the time. The setup is not NBA or up to NBA standards.
They're making do with what they've got over there. We know,
for sure.
Luau Ding does a lot of good work over there and has set them up with a lot of. I mean, he's a major factor in probably even Muhammad Kamara even existing as a basketball player at this point, just because of him offering the ability for them to have leagues and teams and courts and stuff to play on and stuff with the funds he's taken over there and the basketball scene he's created. Shout out to Luau Ding, even though he absolutely ruined my Lakers pockets for some years. But
one of the worst contracts. Anyway.
Nevertheless,
don't worry, he was 13 Bulls probably don't love him too much either. I think only Duke fans maybe still have it, other than them and the people of Senegal or whatever.
I watched a little bit of the footage on him, and I like what I see, fellas. I heard a lot of different opinions today. I read a lot of different opinions. I'm not gonna probably fall in line with most of those opinions. I know the expectation. I know what. I'm a realist, so I'm not gonna sit here and not be, realistic and say things that I think aren't true. But at the same time, 20 years old, 6'7", 215, moving his feet like that, getting up and down the floor like that. The wingspan, I can't wait to see what it comes out to be because he looks like he's got a 7-foot wingspan. His arms are freakishly long. If he's in transition and he gets the ball in his hand, you're not directly in front of him. He's going to dunk it. And if you are directly in front of him, he might dunk it on you. I understand. I get the level of competition he's playing, but in the footage I'm seeing in the highlights, obviously in the actual little plays taken out of the good moments he's had, he looks great.
That's how highlights are, you know.
So they're called highlights, correct? Isn't that?
Yeah, exactly.
But name.
From what I've seen of him, he kind of seems like the James Scott replacement, essentially. That doesn't mean that he's going to be playing nearly as much. It's just that the type of role that he has with his skill set will probably equate to that. What I like most about his game, Roman kind of alluded to it, is his shot blocking ability. The one thing about James Scott that I really didn't like last season is that although he had a really long wingspan and he was tall, and he put himself in position to block shots, he didn't do it as much as he should have because he didn't have the proper timing and didn't really know the fundamentals of blocking a shot, if that makes sense. I mean, this guy, he either blocks with two hands or he times it super well to where he knows exactly when the offensive player is going up for the shot and pins it off the backboard or slaps it out back on.
Meets them right at the top, face to face.
Exactly. And he's shorter than James is. He's probably 6'7". Some people are trying to say he's 6'8". He's probably 6'7". But he does have a long wingspan, like you said. That's probably the thing I like most about him and that we'll get the most out of next season. You know, you hope this guy is going to stay here for a few years, really develop it because the potential's there. I don't expect his jump shot, his form looks better than I would have thought for how raw the coach he is, but I don't expect him to be hitting threes at any consistent level. It's probably going to be a mix between Kadir Traore and James Scott. For the rest of the year.
That's exactly what I was thinking earlier, precisely.
Not a minute.
Did you catch any footage, Trevor?
I did. I did watch some highlights. I take it with a grain of salt. I do. I am one of those older guys, and I'm not just the oldest one here. I do play that role. I'm not just the president. I am a member, and I agree. Hitting the three, like Will said, and some of the highlights I saw was okay. I didn't see anything that showed me that he could really be a kid that's going to be really an impact player next year with his team. I mean, I don't think he will be. You mentioned a replacement for James Scott. I think it's funny you mentioned it because I want to bring that up here in a second about another player. I think they came back that actually was the replacement for him. But, I mean, yeah, it just – I could see – I love the taking a chance. And listen, we're also talking about, you know, a possible third, fourth guy in the rotation because right now you have Hadley, you have Pryor back, and you do have
Roots.
And Ali obviously was expected, I think, to be back when probably this kid was starting to be recruited anyway. But you hope to still get Ali. And if that's the case, then I would be shocked if this kid even – I would almost wouldn't be surprised if he didn't redshirt. I mean, it'd be between him and the German kid. I think is he German? Fru? Okay. It's Fru, right? Okay, yeah. See, the Spick and Sidosh. I can do that one right. And I've watched Inglourious Bastards like 30 billion times, so I got that under my belt. So yeah, I really either one of those two kids, I could see one maybe playing like the three named kid from Syracuse last year, type minutes this year. Ali, dude.
Frank Anselm, eBay.
Yeah, the guy who was better at tweets after the game than he was actually impacting the game himself. I'm sure he's a great kid. No offense to him. Yeah, more power to you, buddy. But
come on, Trav, we love Frank. About the impact.
I do too. And one day I'll remember one of those names somewhere down the road. But until that day comes, that's about what I see from either this kid, Kamara, or from Fru in terms of impact on this roster. And I would see one of them redshirt. Now, if Ali doesn't get the medical clearance and we still get completely fucked by the NCAA like it's nobody's business, I swear to God, they haven't had a hard-on for anybody since like Jerry Tarkanian than they have for us. But if he does get the approval, then or he doesn't, then I could see both these kids at least buying it out for, again, that third rotation spot and hoping that Roos develops and moves up and plays as well. And Pryor, knock on wood, stays healthy, obviously. Because Hadley's going to be your 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just talking about rotating at the 5. And Kelsey showed last year, I mean, even though Pryor did get hurt, he's really going to rotate maybe 2 guys at that 5 position, maybe a third, and that'd be Frank's role.
You're probably
position.
right, Trevor.
Like 3 minutes a game.
I think you're probably right.
What?
But I just think that if what he's showcased on the defensive end of the ball, like you said, Will, if that kind of shot blocking can replicate with front court players in the ACC, and that ability to guard wings and guards and get deflections and get steals and be able to switch on to bigs and smaller players and not lose anything defensively, does he not immediately kind of become one of the better defenders on the team with us trying to run a lot of minutes of 3-guard rotations out there?
I mean, I can take this one. I think that, or Trevor, do you want to answer it? Or?
I thought he was talking to you.
Oh, you were asking me. Sorry,
Yeah,
I thought you said Trevor. I mean, I do think that he's going to have like depth minutes, probably more than Frank had, but less than somebody like Kadir. If that makes sense. So probably in the 10 to 15 minute a game range, and 15 is probably really pushing it. But I think it's going to be more so matchup based rather than just like, oh, we're going to give you consistently 10 minutes a game. It's going to be if somebody gets in foul trouble, or if we feel like we need to run a small ball lineup and have him be as a small ball 5 who can switch on anybody really on the court because he moves his feet really well. So say if we're playing a team that is getting to the rim at will and we need to try to stop a pick and roll, for example, and somebody like Ali is if he's playing, can't stay in front of his man that he's switching onto as a guard or at the guard position, you'd have to rely on somebody like Kamara to do that. So I think he'll have an impact. It's just not going to be as much as some people are trying to say he is.
And that the last part you said, I agree, is what I do agree with. The earlier part you said, though, I will say this: if he's playing and you said averaging 10 to 15 minutes a game, if he's averaging that much, then one of two things: he is much better than I'm giving him credit for, and I knock on wood, I hope that's right, and I'd love to be wrong. Or B, somebody got hurt and we're being forced, our hands kind of being forced, and that would not be a good thing. I heard you. I can't remember which one of you two now said it, compared him like a Traore. I get the whole, energy, plays bigger than he is type comparison to Troy, but Troy's also a 5th-year senior when we had him last year. This is a 20-year-old kid who's played 2 years of basketball.
He didn't play like he was a 5th-year senior. He was turnover prone, took bad shots.
Oh no, that's just who he was, though.
I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, I mean,
that's who he was. If
that's the baseline requirement, then this guy will probably get minutes.
Not be far off from that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
college basketball version of Russell Westbrook for the Nuggets.
Not even. I mean, because the thing is with Russell Westbrook, you get some good and you get some bad. This guy was, the whole meme, like sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Well, it's like with Traore, it was pretty much always shit with him in the
game. Yeah, I agree.
I'm being, I'm badgering the guy, but God,
you're a 6'5" kid playing post up with a 7-footer and not backing down. It's something to the 6'3" kid who used to post up against 6'10" kids at Wagner. Okay,
yeah. And like a great game,
it was bleeding hard.
Nobody could pick up. Well, but I'm just saying in general.
Speaking with 10 to 15 minutes, regardless. So again, but as I said, that's the two scenarios I see. I feel like this is the thing with Kamara, though, is like you said, let's not get so excited about this year, because with a kid like him, and probably with Frew as well, and even with Kenny Payne bringing in Okafor, who I mentioned in a reference when we brought this up on the thread earlier today, is that it's like is the juice worth the squeeze? Yes, because there's really no downside. I mean, there's no, if he develops and you find a Gorgie Jang or whatever, then it's awesome. And we didn't work out. This is a kid you just kind of taking a flyer on anybody. Both of them are, to a degree, because when you look at the rest of this portal class with the perimeter players, both in the portal, youth or not, and the freshmen and Brown coming in, I mean, these are just kind of your, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that means they're going to suck. Terrence Williams was that in his recruiting class, and he turned out pretty damn good as well, as was Gorgie Jang. But, that's what it is. So it's just house money. Roll the dice with it. So hopefully it works out as a Louisville fan, but I'm just not getting – I'm not going 6 to midnight with the signing is what I'm saying.
Last thing I want to point out with this
If
too.
my dogs are on this audio, though, I apologize. I got a chihuahua that's a piece of pain in the ass sometimes.
It's all good. But I just looked up Emmanuel Okorafor's recruiting ranking because I was curious, and I know it might have been affected a little bit by him just coming so randomly in the middle of the season in 2023, but he was not rated by.
I know he was a 3-star. I might be wrong then.
Well, maybe by ESPN, but I just looked up 24/7. He was not ranked on them or by them. And Kamara is a 4-star, which I personally wouldn't have him that high, but the scouts and the people that do have an understanding of the sport in all regions of the world think that this guy could be a legit player on our roster. At least it's
I hope so.
A 4-star player means like, hey, he should be a starter at some point in his career. And yeah, I do think that we'll get something.
4-star player means there's some part of his game he's good at,
Right. I mean, there are intangibles that he definitely has. You can see it's like, okay, yes. I mean, Gorgie Jang, when he came over, he was raw, but he still had ability that got him on the court for limited minutes.
You also did have 1 year at prep school too, I believe. If not
sure, but
West Virginia.
So I don't think this guy really needs the prep school for his body. Like Gorgie was very frail, and by the time he was done, he was pretty strong. Relatively speaking. But Kamara, I mean, I feel like he has the body type of legit college player already. So we'll see.
Well, we will see. You're right. We will see. Now, moving on from Kamara, as if we were in a Camaro, to guys that hopefully will be averaging 15 minutes a game. We mentioned Pryor comes back. I have no inside sources. I don't talk to anybody. Just my opinion. You guys tell me right or wrong. It feels like the decision of Pryor coming back was the decision that made James Scott go out the door, correct?
I think it was part of it. I think James Scott, knowing that he was about to be a part of a front court that was utilizing 3 to 4 guys, was also playing another role. Like, hey, James, you're not going to be playing the same role you were playing next year. And the money probably being similar to last year's, maybe a slight bump, was like, wait a minute. I can go. They're telling me I'm the 6th man off the bench, and I'm going to have a chance to fight for the starting spot down there at Ole Miss. And they're offering me this much more money versus only a little bit more money. And I got a battle with Kaysen coming back, who I know is going to be getting hella minutes. They're saying Alley's the best passing big. They love this Sonny Frew kid coming over here. He's never even played in the college basketball. Man, screw this. I'm going to go down there and get more money. I think that's exactly what he said.
I think that's a yes to my question. In a short version of what he said.
I think it was the fact there was multiple.
I like your explanation much better. Will, what about you?
Don't really have too much else to add. I think Roman hit on everything with that, honestly.
So I wasn't just paranoid. I was thinking right, yeah. Because if Pryor doesn't come back, is it safe to say James Scott is still here?
No.
Oh, you so that okay? Let me word it that way then. Yes.
I think Pryor coming back was probably the final nail in the coffin, but I don't think that if he didn't come back, James would
1.2 million, Trevor? If that's true,
is that
1.2 million?
Is that what supposedly you got? Listen.
Supposedly.
Okay, supposedly. I mean, it's hard not to look at it that way though, because you just said Pryor coming back was the last nail. That's in a way just saying if Pryor doesn't come back, that nail isn't put in, and that Scott board is still here.
Probably, but it's not like a shoe-in. I wouldn't say it's because he probably was of the mindset, I'm going to get minutes, and then he was getting fielded offers by other programs where it's like, hey, we can give you a little bit more money and we can give you more minutes now because you see how loaded that front court is. Hit the portal and see what you can get.
And I bring this up now just because, and then listen, I love Keyshawn Pryor coming back. I'd love to see what he can do in his game connect. But personally, between you and me and anyone else watching, if you're going to say you get James Scott or you get Pryor, I'm taking Scott. I mean,
you're insane.
Disagree.
Roman, you can go ahead. I saw your face. You can go ahead.
I get that he's still young, and I love a guy that's willing to stay in college, build his game up, and try to get better before thinking that he has to go to the next level. And obviously, NIL amplifies the ability to do that. But
are you describing Pryor or Scott? Because Pryor's been in college for 7 years too.
Scott.
Okay.
I'm just, but Kason Pryor's ability to stretch the floor, put the ball on the floor, be a shooter, be a ball handler, be a player who can play either role in the pick and roll, and still is out there 6'10", not just big for no reason. He could still play big as well. James is far off from that, and I get James' potential as a shot blocker with his wingspan and his straight up quick vertical leap ability and stuff. He's a little bit more rawly athletic, obviously, than Kason. It's not there enough for me. It's not there enough for me for what I think we were trying to pay. Not far off those two players. I don't think they were very, very crazy drastic numbers of what we were probably giving Kason and what we were probably giving James. What Kason brings to the court, the issues he causes for the other team's defense. Trev, give me 3 issues James can cause for the other team.
Well, defensively, I think a lot more than Pryor can. And to your note, you said that we didn't see what was enough of Scott. How did we see enough of?
No, I'm saying we didn't.
Pryor and Pryor was very raw too. I mean, I think some of the nostalgia of he was playing well in the Bahamas, yes, but yet for every kind of good Pryor you got 2 bad Pryors with some of the shot selection and some. I mean, if you remember,
he didn't get fully integrated. He obviously kind of had
he was not as good as Scott. I know Scott obviously doesn't have the 3-point shot, but I mean Pryor's percentage wasn't that great. And I think what Scott does, especially in terms of running the fast break, running from rim to rim, being that rim runner, being 6'11", improving still offensively to hopefully be beyond just an alley-oop guy. I'm not saying he will ever, but I would like to think he could. I'm not saying he's going to shoot threes, but at least be a guy that, can maybe get the ball to him on the low post maybe once or twice. And defensively, listen, I like defense, and I think what he brings is, I think Pryor is effective, but I think Scott is just a better defender, and it would be a better defender not only next year as a junior, but possibly even better than one he is as a senior.
Probably against big men, I'd agree, but against what you're going to see on the floor with a team like us that's trying to switch a lot, I can't agree. Because Kason, before he got hurt, he could stay in front of those guards. You worried about James with some of those quick, twitchy guards. And then like those small forwards and the wing players. Kason, he can guard every type of player out there other than the big 250-pounder. James.
I don't know. I mean, again, we only saw Pryor in 7 games. I mean, so I don't know how you. I think that's again, that's kind of my point is that I think it's in a little bit of ways you saw so little Pryor. You saw enough, a good glimpse, but you saw so little Pryor that you don't have enough footage to break him down negatively like you can James Scott, who played in 35 games.
I mean, I actually disagree with that because we saw Pryor for 7 games, and his percentages in those 7 games were terrible from the field on offense. They were awful. The only thing he did well offensively was shoot free throws. But the thing is that we saw is that he was so much of a threat offensively that even though he wasn't knocking down his shots to start the season, that when he did get into a flow, that would have opened up our offense so much more because when James Scott is on the floor, the only thing you have to account for, and I mean the only thing, is the lob threat because he's not going to get offensive rebound putbacks. He does not offensive rebound very well. He's a god-awful free throw shooter. He was, I think, sub 50% on the season. Couldn't handle the ball. Couldn't catch a pass in the paint. Hang on.
I know, but I'm saying you could at least hope he would improve that, I would think. I'm being optimistic on that.
But I'm just saying he was extremely raw. And the only reason he was playing as many minutes as he was is because we actually had to. We had no alternative. Unless you wanted to throw Frank Anselmibe out there. But Kason is the kind of player that could guard 1 through 5. Outside of Chucky, he was our best defender last year. And he wasn't that far behind Chucky, who was the best on-ball defender in college basketball. Kason's a better shot blocker than James Scott is. He has better timing, better defensive presence, and awareness. Like, the reason our defense dug in so well in the Bahamas and was so great against Indiana, West Virginia, and Oklahoma in the first half was because we were able to play superfluous defense where it's like, hey, we can go 1 through 5 with any of our guys on the court. We feel confident in that. And with James, if he's on a guard, not going to work out for you very well. And he did fall asleep on defense at many times last season. I like James. I obviously want him still on the roster. I'm sad to see him go, but
and you're right. And Trevor, I'm gonna emphasize the point. Kaysen was asleep on offense out there in the 7 games he played, and a lot of those possessions. I think if he would have had the time to get fully integrated, he would have gotten to be a part of everybody fully finding their role, finding their shot selection, finding what was the best area for them to fit in on the court offensively, and let the expectation kind of change based on what they saw after the first 10 to 15 games. Like we got to see, hey, Terrence, we need you to step it up in this run. We need you to stop doing this. We need you to pick this up. James, you're not going to do this anymore. Quit this. Kaysen, don't do this. Or Noah, the expectation changed a little bit. Obviously, you lose Corin Johnson, you lose Kaysen Pryor. Obviously, the expectation is going to change. But everybody started to really understand what their role was and get integrated and understand what was being asked of them. Kaysen would have fallen in line with that, I feel like.
100% agree. And there are multiple examples of this because Terrence Edwards at the start of the season, including in the Bahamas, we thought that he was terrible. Like we're thinking, okay, he's just an example of a guy whose game would not translate from a mid-major to high-level college basketball. And at the end of the season, he was an all-ACC player and our best scorer. Chucky, at the start of the season, especially after the Tennessee game, there were questions, can this guy even play point guard for us? And then he became first-team All-ACC and one of the most beloved point guards that Louisville's ever had. Javon Hadley couldn't hit the broadside of a barn to start the season. Then he became our second three-point percentage shooter and our most reliable paint presence. Rain Smith didn't really do anything, then became one of the best shooters in college basketball by the end of the season. So we can't really take the sample size of Kaysen not playing well offensively in that 7-game stretch and say, oh, he's not going to give us that production, because we saw the intangibles that had an actual impact on the game. And we say to ourselves, okay, well, if he gets readjusted, he gets his legs back from his ACL injury, he gets adjusted and accustomed to this offense or the system in general, he can be one of our best players. I'm not saying he's going to be, but I'm saying the potential for that is way higher than James Scott becoming the player that you think that he could be next season.
I want to start by saying 3 parts. A, your speech there sounded almost like just like Jason Kelsey at the Super Bowl when he's like, I'm too short. Jason Peters is too fat. Zach Ertz doesn't block. We gonna win. That was the whole fucking team. I got it autographed on a whopper. I loved it. So I just want to start by saying that you almost lost me with what you were saying. Like, you got Rain Smith. He can't shoot. We got him over here. Second, I don't know where. I think it was Roman that said this one, so this goes to him a little bit more. But I don't think Pryor was ever asleep during the 7 games he played offensively. He was plenty awake, and unfortunately, it's hard to sleep when you get the ball bouncing off that rim 9 times a game. And thirdly,
bouncing off your foot, trying to do a behind the back dribble.
And thirdly, I understand. I think, and this is one of Will's points where he said, or maybe both of you said it, where that Pryor is a bigger threat offensively in the offense and
defensively, in my opinion.
And I do agree, he is a bigger threat. The problem is that sometimes who's that threat to? Us or the opponent? Because of the sometimes not understanding where he is offensively. I mean, listen, Pryor's guy. Listen, he's that guy. And I know this, and I love it, and I like having him on our teams. He's a guy that he's not on your team, you fucking hate him. He looks like powder a little bit. He's got that attitude. He's goofy. He's going to get under your skin, and unless he plays for you, you hate him, and that's fine. He plays for us, so we're going to love him in this scenario, DeMarcus Cousins to UK style. But so some of the shot selection, sometimes you're thinking I'm Michael Jordan out there. He doesn't play within the offense. That can be a problem. And it was a problem in the few games he was out there.
It was. You're right.
And that's where I get worried, because Scott, that's something I didn't see. I don't think you would see from Scott. You didn't see him forcing things ever. And he just played kind of in the motion. I understand that his offense. The other thing is also, and maybe I'm playing the potential of the NBA guy here, because Pryor's ceiling is there. He's what he is.
I agree. And
Scott, you would think or hope that, to quote 22 Jump Street, he's can burst through there a little bit.
My only rebuttal, though,
it might not happen, but he's going to miss. And you know how much I suck on Chris Beard. So
it's just that
It's the little stuff. It's the little stuff he couldn't catch.
And
if the ball was below his waist, he couldn't catch it.
And if
Chris, a bad sign for a big.
If Chris Beard's taking you, that makes me be like, oh man, I now want him more.
Well, it's just that with Kaysen, we're not gonna. I don't think Coach Kelsey is gonna allow him to be an offensive black hole this year, because last year you got to think about it. At the time that he was playing for us, what scores do we really have? Chucky couldn't hit shit. Terrence Edwards was.
Chucky wouldn't shoot shit. Chucky wouldn't shoot shit.
But even when he would, he wasn't hitting. And Terrence Edwards was horrendous. So it's like, okay, well, I
want to pause you one second, because a part of your Kelsey speech did make me think. I agree. I was one who said that Edwards looked like he was struggling with the development. I never thought he sucked, and I never thought Hepburn sucked.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was like kind of the talk by the fan base. It's like, okay, these guys were underwhelming.
I get that. Yeah. And on the record, when I'm wrong, it's so often. I want to, the times I'm not.
Sure. But with Kaysen, it's we're not going to allow him to be a black hole, because we have so many options offensively this year. That's like, okay, if your game is off, sit your ass on the bench. We can go small ball. We can go big. It doesn't matter. We have different lineups to where we can just go based on who's hot for the day. It doesn't have to be like Kaysen has to be the guy that puts up 15 to 20 shots a night.
You don't think he wants to go Hadley at the center that much again next year as much as we had to?
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying if we do
if Pryor is having to come out, I mean, that leaves you with Roofs and again, two very big question marks. That's where I think the Ali thing is going to be the big deal, that we need to get him back, because I don't want to have again, maybe this German kid's going to come out there, booming like, booming. I don't know if you can say Germany and boom at the same time, but he's going to come out there like gangbuster. Maybe the African kid is better than I'm giving.
I think they're banking on that.
I don't have to depend on that though.
Well, I think they were going to the dependence was going to be on the depth. The dependence was going to be on not having to depend on anything, because like we've heard, Pat Kelsey at the end of last season, he said going into next season he wants to have two players at every position he feels confident and can play
Noah's Ark.
A role for him. So
what did the Lions eat?
Being able to play different types of lineups in terms of 3 guard, 2 guard, 3 bigs if you want, which was going to kind of be possible with somebody like Ali and somebody like Kaysen, who has that ability to play on the perimeter, right? If Sonny Frew was going to be what you think. Or if you had James Scott, who's just going to play that dunker's role, because Ali's stretching the floor as well. I just think that Kaysen's versatility out there in the front court, paired up with what was going to be 3 guard lineups, 2 guard lineups, and having different bigs, and then James Scott being able to having multiple different lineups, that was going to be what you were going to depend on. Now you don't have anything. Your starting center is he can't sprint right now. It's Kaysen Pryor. And then you're starting 4 guard, which that's out of position. Javon Hadley playing out of the 4 last year was primarily out of position. He was getting to play a true 3 role, a small forward role at Colorado. So
do you really think that Kaysen's going to be our starting center next year?
No, I'm saying at this very moment.
You don't think it'd be Frew?
Frew's, I mean, we're still waiting on Frew. We're still have to get Frew over here, and then after that happens, we still have to see if he can play at this level, can get fully integrated. He still has to learn how to play college basketball. He still has to learn how to play in college Pat Kelsey system. And like you said, I don't want to depend on someone who's never done it either, Trevor. But you weren't going to have to do that, and now you've lost Ali. You've lost. You lost James. You're waiting to hear on Ali Khalifa situation. Players like Kamara now become more valuable because at the current moment, you don't have that depth anymore. That depth was going to prevent you from being in any situation where you depended on anybody too heavily next season.
Well, right now, let's play the fun way too early game, because if there's anything us guys know about, it's being way too early on something, right? What's our starting lineup? Will, let's start with you. Who's our starting lineup right now for Louisville basketball this year?
Yeah, I've put mine out several times, but it's changed because I haven't had a new starting lineup. I had James in it, and I would have had Ali as the secondary.
Y'all keep saying Ali. It's Ali. Is it not Ali?
No, I actually looked up the pronunciation. It is Ali.
It's fully Ollie.
I saw it on U of L basketball's website, their program, because I was thinking about it on Wake Up 502. I was like, am I saying his name wrong?
So it's
Ali,
like Ali, like Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, and
Ali
then
Khalifa.
And then Khalifa is the correct way to pronounce his last name. But I didn't say anything on the show because I was like,
and he's not related to Wiz, right?
If only. No.
Okay.
As far as I know. But
I don't know how many of that's only 2 Khalifas I've ever heard of.
Yeah. So with those,
forgive me your starting lineup.
Did that one go over your head, Roman? I think it might have. Think of another Khalifa.
I know it didn't go over my head. No, I know.
There's a third Khalifa.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, so without those two, my starting lineup would be Michael Brown, Isaac McNeely, Ryan Conwell, Javon Hadley, and I'll say Sananda Fru at this point. So that would be my starting 5. If you want me to give justifications, I can. But I'll move on.
No, we believe you. Roman, what do you got?
I've got Michael Brown. I've got Conwell, Woolley, Hadley, and Fru.
If I'm saying like day one, I'm going, and this is going to sound, I'm picking him, but I can't remember his name. The red shirt guard last year that played with Kelsey.
Kobe Rogers.
Kobe Rogers.
Yeah, I'm going Kobe Rogers in the starting lineup with the kid from Virginia, the kid from Xavier, Hadley,
McNeely, Conwell, Hadley,
whose name I know because he played last year, and then Kason Pryor at center. That's I think Brown will be in the starting lineup.
I love this take, Trevor. I love this take. I don't think he needs to come off the. I think he needs to come off the bench initially.
I think he will get some starting time at some point, maybe. But honest, again, we're talking about a true freshman here compared to a kid that's a fifth-year senior that knows Kelsey and knows what he wants. And I think, again, true. I mean, maybe if Brown is something special, then yes. Otherwise, I'm looking at coming off the bench.
But he's something special.
Poorly, I believe he is, and I think he can be. But
that's the only thing.
But defensively, he's going to be behind. I don't care how great he is offensively. You tell me about it.
I agree.
I agree. Guards are always going to be behind when they get into college basketball. Very rare. If you're few and far between finding me one that is ready right away out of college into college defensively.
I agree with that too. I agree with everything you said. However, sorry, Will, before you get to your point, I just think that wasn't the expectation for Michael. I don't think that he came here to come off the bench. But Will, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of just beyond that, it's more so a psychological thing. And Michael came here thinking he's going to be.
It's his city now.
Pat Kelsey calls him PG1, which the implication is there he's going to start. Kobe Rogers came here knowing he's going to be a bench player, a secondary ball handler off the bench. And that's where his mindset is. He's going to try to be a veteran leader and contribute where he can. Michael is coming in here to think that he is going to not be the star of the show, but the floor general, the guy that gets everything
the leader
going.
of the offense.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it would hurt his confidence if you have him come off the bench early on, even though he is a true freshman, just based on what he's expecting coming.
I hope that's true, because if having to come off the bench is going to break your confidence, then that worries me right there. But
I mean, you got to think that
that's a horse of a different color. Okay, I mean,
I was going to say, Trev, I kind of agree, but it's a different brand of hoops these days.
It's just you're an 18-year-old kid. You were told you were going to come in and start, and
getting a hefty bag of money to come play.
Yeah, and you're coming off the bench for a guy that you know you're better than.
Probably being told you're going to be on the pathway to being one of the new faces of Adidas if everything goes how.
I mean, hell, he's a projected top 10 pick by a lot of people. So he's probably, you would think, like, hey, everybody expects him. He is a shoe-in.
And I know Roman may have heard this. Mike brings it up in the past, and he brought forth Louisville success with top 10 recruits is not, or at least top recruits in general, has not.
As I say, we haven't had a top 10.
Has not
Patino here anymore.
Has not really been the most the best, to say the least. I mean, between I guess between your Samuels and your character and your Telfair and your so on.
It's a new day, Trev. Keep an open mind, all right?
I'm right there with you, Xavier Woods. It's a new day, but
keep an open mind.
I hope, and maybe you know what? I could be wrong, I could be right. Who knows? As long as I just feel like that would be the better thing for him. But because listen, even if you're coming off the bench, doesn't mean you're not playing starter minutes. All right, I just thought that to be known.
No, but at that point, like, what's the upside of having him come off the bench anyways?
Like an Earl Clark. Earl Clark came off the bench.
Yeah, but
But then
Earl
Clark
that
kind
team
of
was deep. That team was
defense was for the most part because you forget the game film. All right, so we talked about the roster. Also, the news over since I guess we've been on here the last 2 weeks where this roster is going to be playing. And one of the biggest news of that schedule release that we've heard so far, despite the love of rivalries being renewed, which we'll talk about second. First off, UK, November 11th, early as shit. We're going to host UK on Tuesday and then host Clemson in football on Friday. Thank God I'm not young like you guys, because that would be one drunken, messed up week.
It's going to be a great week.
I mean, that would be 72 hours of just like burning when I pee the next morning, not knowing what the hell I just happened. Who is she? Why am I wearing her underwear? It would be a great week for me if I was still 24 years old. Thank God I'm not anymore. Still going to be a hectic week, though, because my heart can't take that much pressure. We'll talk about the football later. Basketball. I mean, does it matter if the game's this early to you guys, or do you give a shit, or do you just want to play the game? What's your thought on it? Roman?
Go ahead, Will. Or I'll go ahead.
Roman.
I don't care. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal at all. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to be an adjustment. I don't like that it's a Tuesday. I know the benefits to it. I also know the not losses to it, but you do kind of lose out on just a little in-person crowd as well with it being a Tuesday, but you're shifting it to November to ensure every student that wants to come can come. So I like it in that sense. I like it that you're not competing with any other basketball really. That night you're not going to be competing with any big games most likely. So that's cool. Maction, the only thing that's going to be on football wise that night. And the ACC viewership will be great, right? So, I think it should have been on a Saturday, though, fellas. Tuesday, no. That's what I don't like. If you're going to move it up, you should have moved it up to a Saturday. I get you don't want to compete with college football. It's the biggest college basketball rivalry game, one of 3 biggest college basketball rivalry games in the country. So, especially with the storylines of right now, with the 2 new first-year head coaches going into their second year after having 2 successful seasons and planning to be even better this season, you've got to put that on a Saturday.
Did you just say the 2 first-year coaches heading into their second seasons? So it's like the tall, short guy, right? This is the skinny, fat guy. The 2 first-year coaches going into their second seasons. That was a Yogi Berra comment right there.
Yeah, it was.
Will, yes. That was Yogi Berra style. Will, what do you got?
So at first, I didn't hate it, but I was like confused because I was thinking to myself how weird it's going to be to have the basketball game before the football game. But the more I thought about it, I actually think this is kind of genius, honestly, and for a few different reasons. The first one, the Roman said, having the students there is definitely a key. Like, they were there even when we would host them in late December, but it's not really the same. And second, it feels like we never have a beginning of the season event for basketball. Kentucky always has the Champions Classic every single season. We don't have anything until at least Feast Week. We're just playing tune-up games. Now, this probably won't – I doubt it'll be the first game of the season. It'll probably be the second or the third. So you have a couple tune-up games. But then you have your beginning of season event. And I actually like that it's on a Tuesday and not a Saturday, because a regular Georgia-Texas game in football, regular season, will do just as well as the Final Four in basketball. So it's just the ratings speak for it themselves. Yeah. You have to have the basketball, no matter how big the rivalry is. Even if Duke and Carolina played on a college football Saturday, nobody would give a shit, because they're all watching. They would rather watch Oklahoma State versus Baylor. That's just how those fans are hardwired, And having it on a Tuesday, the only thing that's weird about it is it's on Veterans Day on a random Tuesday in November. That's weird. But the timing of it's perfect, because you're going to have all eyes on that game. The crowd's going to be it's going to be incredible. You're going to have all the students there. You're going to have the early season hype. And now we can really, I feel like, maybe take control back of the rivalry if we've even ever had control in basketball. And the one thing that I have always, and this is kind of going off the path of the actual schedule of the game, is that in basketball, it feels like we always play on Kentucky's terms. And we need to change that this season.
Yeah.
And I think maybe mixing things up a little bit, putting it at the start of the season. We have a veteran roster, probably more veteran than theirs is, honestly. And I think we had the better coach. We're going to have a hell of an environment. Let's get those guys rattled and let's kick their ass. So
the change was needed. Some kind of change was needed.
I feel like if anyone was going to have like the negative opinion about the schedule thing, it should be me because I'm the boomer of the group. Like I feel like the younger you are, I think you would be less relevant because you just don't have as long a tradition based in it. I mean, there's nothing again, just plain math. You're a grad school, you probably understand that math. And the fact, but I don't, and I'm sure most of your bitching online is from your probably 30 and 35 and older fan base, and I get the opinion of where it had been mostly later in the year, even though in the earlier years it was more earlier in the season as well. The day thing, because personally, honestly, I just want to play Kentucky. I really don't give a fuck if it's in November, December, January, February. You can put in the middle ACC play for all I give two shits. I just want to play Kentucky, and kind of playing them early in the year, it does make it a little bit more wild cardy, I guess if you could say, if it's proper English enough, because it's still kind of early in the year, kind of like when you play the football game first instead of the last kind of thing, more things can different happen without the season being unfolded already. But the day being on Tuesday, like you said, I both do agree. You could have a Georgia versus Georgia Tech game, and it's probably going to bring ratings more than maybe not the Final Four, but most basketball games. If you had this on Saturday, even against college football, it's still going to get your base viewership, which is going to be 2 million or so. But by putting it on Tuesday, you're going to get your base viewership plus the casual fan, which is a plus for I think for the rivalry, because listen, the ESPN cock-loving UNC Duke rivalry has games on Tuesday nights before Wednesday nights. So putting on Tuesday night doesn't bother me. And particularly, most of all, why it doesn't bother me, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe didn't the last time we played on Tuesday night was Quentin Snyder breaking Bam's ankles in the Yum Center and us winning that game? That was on a Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure.
December 21st.
I thought it was December 18th.
I don't remember the date, but I know it's on Tuesday because me and TJ did the show across the street, and he went over and watched it in person, and I got to laugh at it.
I used to work at JD Becker, if you know that store, the U of L UK store.
Oh, yeah.
I was there. My boss told me to fucking vacuum right at the end of the game. And I remember looking up, seeing Bam's ankles get broken, him basically kissing the court. That was great. And then Jalen Johnson's dunk. But
it was a beautiful game, beautiful moment. Again, having on Tuesday for that reason, let's do it for that. Anything else? Yeah. I mean, it's a great rivalry. Now, so, I brain farted there. I mean, the first one only took 53 minutes.
Well, I do think
that's a Bring Brom Home guy in the comments.
He's been in here the whole time.
Always showing love.
But I think this will really help us repair our brand, too, on a national scale. I mean, if you ask the casual fan which teams are a blue blood, you get Carolina, you get Duke, you get Kansas, UCLA, Kentucky. Indiana probably is still fringely in that range. UConn now. And less people talk about Louisville because of what we've experienced in the past decade. And putting all eyes on us against, as much as we hate to say it, the biggest brand in college basketball, and that's Kentucky.
Listen, I want to beat Kentucky, but don't wait. Our brand needle's not moving unless you're successful in March.
Well, I mean, sure, but beating them, that sends
you beat Kentucky and Duke every year or so. Going on a win streak against both, it could help.
Yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're totally right, Trevor. You're totally right at the end of the day. But when everybody first watches college basketball to start the season, they would see us playing Kentucky and be like, wow, I've forgotten how big this rivalry game even is, because it feels like it really has been undermined by Duke and Carolina lately. And this is our chance now to truly put ourselves back on the map. We got some attention last year.
Especially when there's a number next to both of our names.
Yeah, we were still disrespected
and
given an 8 seed by the committee, even though we were fucking 10th team in the AP poll. This year, we're both going to be preseason top 10. I mean, you can basically shoot that in. The hype's going to be there. ESPN's going to have promos out the ass. You just know that's how they are. They try to capitalize on this kind of
thing. I think that's the first time I think I've heard Will cuss all show.
I'm passionate about this thing.
It wasn't until the seeding came up that he dropped the F-bomb out of nowhere. It was just like, holy
You should have heard my reaction when I first saw it. It was
wow. Yeah, he's been PG all the way up to that point, and it's like, fuck, he's like the sailor comes out the bar. Speaking of rivalry games, also because moving on a little bit from Kentucky, because I'm sure we'll talk about them plenty as the time goes on. Other rivalry games announced, though, in order by announcement. We'll start with this because it's a little less maybe controversial. Memphis State added on. Yes, I said Memphis State. Elliot Perry is proud I said that. What is this? Because now this is to the boomer in me. This is to 35 and up, the Memphis State rivalry. Because you two, again, not to try to look down like father figure over here, even though I actually am old enough to be both dads. I know you probably don't remember any of the Memphis State rivalry and hatred, but do you have it still? Are you happy to see this rivalry renewed and to maybe start getting a hatred of your own, maybe for this team?
Oh, I hate them still.
Oh, good.
I remember our championship season when we came back down from 16 on the road at Memphis State. I remember the 2 times they beat us. How the fuck did Josh? I do forget
the Conference USA days a little bit. Yeah, I do.
I don't remember those, honestly. The first game I have a memory of actually is us playing Seton Hall in like 2005, right? Our first year in the Big East, because I was a little kid still. But
did they have Jeremy Hazel on that team?
I don't remember. I just remember like vaguely watching it in my living room. But with Memphis State, the 2 games that we played in 2014, when we were a 4 seed, they were a 7 seed. They got bounced in the first round, but we lost them twice, and we choked a lead in both games. And I that's where I got my hatred for them, because Josh Pastner, how can a dork like that outcoach Pitino twice? And we lost both times, like I just said. So I'm ready to play them again. I'm excited for it.
Roman, what about you? Are you ready to hate Memphis State
I'm ready to hate. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Memphis.
Suck it.
I don't like Memphis State for hype reasons as a spectating college basketball fan over the last 5 to 10 years. Like, not even still over the last 5, 6, 7 years. They keep getting recruits. They keep getting this preseason hype. I keep getting told to look out for them, even though they should be ranked higher every year than what the recruits bring in suggest. They don't do anything. They never have. So I've never understood the hype. They've immediately become like that team that you look at that is just, they're not good. It doesn't matter what they've got, who they bring it in. I don't trust them. I don't trust the coaching. You don't even view them as a serious organization. I've had that kind of like non-U of L correlated anything of feeling about them for like the last few years now. So I'm ready to know that we're better than them across the board.
I mean, you have the Conference USA, Calipari, Pitino, Darius Washington, obviously Jersey. Everybody remembers it. Still remember where I'm working at Pizza Box during that game and a lot happening with the moment where you're at. But, I mean, again, my hatred goes back to your Metro Conference days of not only, we're talking about playing against Penny as a coach. We played against them as a player, before they jumped ship and went to the big, that was the Mountain West. No, but Mountain West was the Great Midwest Conference. I think it was something they called it, or whatever. Ironically, it was the same conference that the other team that we have renewed our rivalry with Memphis State. Cincinnati also jumped to at that point around the same time, leaving the Metro. And now this game comes with a little caveat. First of all, adding these two both for me as a long old school fan is beautiful, because anybody knows me, I not only have hate and loathe Memphis State and Cincinnati, I don't like either city. I have said to this to the day I'll die, if the American map was a human body, Memphis is the chode and Cincinnati's the armpit. Okay? I don't know where that leaves the ball sack at, but that's what I believe.
Lexington, Kentucky.
That would be great. Very well put there, Dr. Wigington. But with the Cincinnati rivalry, as much as I would love to go back and beat Cincinnati again and play them, I am not thrilled of this. I don't know if this is going to be changed anyway because of maybe some some social media backlash that he clearly has gotten, but apparently this game will be played in Freedom Hall. I love nostalgia to a degree, but the way that we closed Freedom Hall in that manner, I mean, this is just like, I mean, this is like making Caddyshack 2, man. And no one wants to watch Caddyshack 2. No one I don't think this, I want to play Cincinnati as much, and I'm going to beat Cincinnati again. But do I want to do it at the sake of having to do it at Freedom Hall? Honestly, no.
Go ahead, Will.
I got a decent amount of thoughts on this because Cincinnati is the team that I hate the most besides Kentucky in college basketball. And the reason that why that hatred started, a little bit of lore about my backstory. My dad got us tickets at Freedom Hall to watch Louisville versus Cincinnati, and we were in the student section. And I believe it was David Padgett was on the team. I think it was 06, 07. We were ranked. Cincinnati was 3-4 with Mick Cronin, and they beat us by a point. And that was like the first time as a child, where you experience grief from your sports team losing. And so I started hating Cincinnati from that point forward. And then we started to own them a little bit. And then they beat us in 2014. We got them back with the game winner. That was great. I haven't played them since. I want them there. I want them back on the schedule every single year. I'll be boots on the ground in PNC Bank Arena. I'll be boots on the ground in Freedom Hall. I'll just keep going. I'll be boots on the ground in Indy and in Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the IU game. I got my season tickets for basketball now. I'll be at the Yum for U of L UK. I'll be at all those. I'll be our correspondent. But with Freedom Hall,
get you a real Spiel media pass.
Yeah, I know, right? It is.
Well,
it does feel.
Tickets, so you don't need one.
Yeah, it does feel a little. Oh, go ahead. Oh, that's sorry. It feels a little blasphemous, I will say. I'll never forget watching the last game in Freedom Hall. It was one of the most magical games in U of L history, for good reason.
Did you go?
No, I watched it at my mom's friend's house in the Highlands, but I was locked in. And I go to the TBT games every year. Freedom Hall is still electric, even with 5,000, 10,000 people. I can't imagine what it's going to be like with a full house again. It does feel wrong, but we're going to make it feel right. We're going to kick their ass.
Does it still smell German roasted nuts?
A little bit.
Okay.
Still have the proper nachos, terrible bathrooms, terrible parking, and
I don't want. I know, Roman. I want you to throw your 2 cents in here, but before you do, I want to. This is going to be rough down memory lane here. Maybe the old guy. When I first used to go to Freedom Hall games, back especially in the '90s, late '90s, particularly in early 2000s, they still had a smoking room. And I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know how long. I don't remember how long that smoking room lasted till, but it was just one room, no windows, no ventilation, and you would have. I swear, and we both know how Louisville fans can be, because let's just say the smoking room is like the basketball version of the terrace in a football game, and so you got 100 people crammed in this room all smoking. It would look like something out of a movie. And it would always get to the point that it would just overflow. And you'd have like a line of people like you'd see like they're waiting to go to the bathroom, like 30 deep, all just in line in the regular hallway, just smoking their cigarettes because we're considered in line for the smoking room so we can smoke. I swear, I think I went to about a dozen games, never once actually went in the smoking room but smoked cigarettes. I just in that hallway right there waiting. You could walk in there and not even have a cigarette. It was amazing. I don't know what that room is now currently, but dollars of donuts, $6 in my left nut, so it still smells like smoke.
Surely. you could bet on that.
I'll
say this.
Freedom Hall there, Roman.
I don't have anything to say. I didn't go to the game. I didn't go to the last game. I don't have many memories of it. I have memories hearing about it. That's about it. I don't even remember watching it. I have memories hearing about it and talking about it. Outside of that,
you guys were about 10. Well, you were probably around 10 years old each, right? I suppose.
I was 9 when we played them. Yeah,
so I was like 11.
I was working at Cumulus Radio doing a show during it. So there's anything watching on a little TV because I didn't have tickets. Here we are.
I think here's what I think, Trev. I think the fact that this is considered a neutral court game and not a home game, 100. I'm all for it. I am all for it. What that. Because I get that you need them to be boosted up, right? It hurts us on one end. How do I think about this? I got to think about this to correct.
Here's how it does. Here's what it is. If Louisville loses, it it sucks from all angles. Now, Louisville goes out and wins the game and blows out Cincinnati, and hopefully, God knock on wood, they will. Then even
it helps in Louisville.
Yeah, even the old Karens like me screaming about, I don't even know if I use that term right, but screaming about, not wanting to, hash up Freedom Hall. It was close. We'll forget about it. We'll move on because, we are a microwave thought process society. But you got to be Cincinnati. Bottom line here. If you're going to put the game in Freedom Hall and you're not gonna, and you don't want us to keep bitching about it, this is like the first thing I think anyone's ever in this fan base is like she bitched about was this basketball program since Pat Kelsey's been hired. Then you got to be Cincinnati. You better win the game. No pressure. You better win the game.
It's top 50. They have to be a top 50 team on a neutral court for it to be a quad one win. And they were the 49th team in the net last year.
I don't care what quad they are. I don't care if they're Randy quad.
What I'm saying though is, yeah, obviously win the game, and that's what hurts us. Is what it does for us if we lose it in Freedom Hall. It's a bad look for Freedom Hall. It's a bad feeling for the fans. However, if they're, outside of the top 30, then playing it there bumps how important of a game it means for us playing it in Freedom Hall. It gives us a chance for this win to look a lot better. Now, obviously, going and winning a road game in their home arena would feel a lot better than going and winning a road game down the road around the corner from their arena when it's going to count for less because it's a neutral court. But I think it helps because it makes it a potential quad one win opportunity, heightens the chance of it being a quad one win opportunity when we play it in Louisville. So
it should have been, though, a true home and home with Freedom Hall being our home game, because now you're going to Freedom Hall for nostalgia purposes, but you're having it be a neutral site game, so you're not going to get like the actual home treatment by the arena. So it's kind of like, what's the real point of doing that then if you're not going to have?
I think it's stealing.
If you're going to have the whole 9 yards, you're kind of just using it as a venue and not as an experience. Which Freedom Hall, every single game was an experience. So I would have rather played Cincy on the road, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is.
Does the Bellarmine use Freedom Hall? I mean, I'm assuming
well, they use it and Knights Hall still.
Okay.
It kind of just depends. So.
All right. Well, and one last thing I want to bring up, at least, and maybe we can bring up something else after this, but one last thing I did want to bring up with you, and this is just mainly for an excuse to me act like old man again and rant. And from one Freedom Hall, legendary hall, to another, and that's Baseball Hall of Fame. Pete Rose reinstated. I don't know how much you guys follow baseball or care about baseball. I know, but Pete Rose reinstated along with Shooters Joe Jackson, along with Buck Weaver and Eddie Seacott and the rest of the other 8, or I guess technically 9, 8 White Sox, Black Sox from that group, even though none of them were Hall of Fame, really respectable except for Joe Jackson, of course. I want to rant, but I feel like I went too long, so you guys will be shorter than this. Your thoughts on this happening and the timing of it, and for the record, if Pete Rose is to get in the Hall of Fame, it wouldn't be till 2027 until the vote's even eligible. But Will, I'll start with you. You care about Pete Rose and this eligibility stuff, or is it just yeah?
So I'll say both things can be true. One is Pete Rose, or was Pete Rose, a terrible human being? Yeah.
Possibly.
But does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Also, yes. Is it really picking at just nitpicking to prevent him from being in the Hall of Fame for gambling as a manager with all the other stuff that goes on not only in the MLB but just in sports in general? It's pretty egregious. So ultimately, I think
it was more than just the gambling.
But still, like, that is what.
Yeah,
gambling. I mean, what other than he was banging like a 16-year-old at some point.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He's a terrible human being. Is that he was a scumbag.
Multiple different ones.
He was an abhorrent person in my opinion. But it doesn't really take away from the fact that based on his accomplishments, should he be in the Hall of Fame? I'm not gonna go to the Hall of Fame with a pitchfork saying don't let him in. But the people that try to sit on a high horse and act like he was done such a disservice to not allow him to the MLB while he was alive. I mean, fuck that guy, honestly.
So, in terms of the dating thing, I like to add that people forget in 1986, a member of the Mets not only dated a high school junior, took her to the prom, and they used the picture in the Mets yearbook.
Like, what a weirdo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. I'm drawing a blank on his name now, but because I'm brain farting. But, yeah, if you go look it up, he was fucked up, yeah. Roman, what are your thoughts on Pete Rose?
Couldn't have, exactly what Will said. That's how I would have put it. I mean, Mike, people have said, like, put an asterisk next to his name, say that, I don't even know how you say it in the Hall of Fame. Like, yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, one of the best ever, but also was a complete fucking weirdo and partially tried to cheat, and then was told to stop and then didn't. And then, like, that's just, how do you even word that nicely? So I don't know if you even, nothing he did made him better at gave him a benefit or made him better or gave him an advantage. So that's like kind of a no-brainer, put him in the Hall of Fame, but at the same time, complete fucking weirdo. So
I'll start by saying the timing was just nothing but a pissing on the grave of Pete Rose.
Exactly. That's
and the commissioner of baseball is a total scumbag douchebag. I don't give. It was just a piece of shit move to do. The message they put out was full of shit by saying that now that he's passed, he's no longer a mark of baseball of all people, to say a mark on the ethics of the game. Of all the major sports to actually stand on behind ethics, your Major League Baseball does not have that leg. Tiny Tim's got better balance than that. And also to note to that, if that's the case, Joe Jackson died in 1951. Why'd you wait almost 75 years to suddenly think that he doesn't have no longer a problem of the ethics towards baseball? Why wasn't he reinstated in 1952 at this point by those logic? It was ridiculous. It's bullshit. Pete Rose even said it himself before he died. They'll probably do it after I died just to piss on me. And it is what it was. He should have always been in the Hall of Fame. I understand the gambling part. I am the one. I've always said Joe Jackson should have been in the Hall of Fame as well. I know some baseball stories disagree. I know the stats of the 1919 World Series can be used as an argument. It can also be said that those stats were in garbage time, including his one home run. In games that didn't, in points that didn't matter in the game. That's fair as well. There's no one left in this world alive that witnessed those games. So we can only go by what we know in history books. That said, he should have been in Hall of Fame. I think putting him in now is just almost insulting. But I'd say maybe just do it. I guess if they're going to do it. But it just feels almost insulting to do it now. And that it feels worse. And that pisses me off because I understand Rose's reputation off the field. I know Mike Rutherford is one who was not a fan of Pete Rose. I grew up in a household that was very baseball driven with my grandfather, who played minor league baseball for the Washington Senators before going off to World War II. Never played professionally, unfortunately. Never got above AAA. But he was a big Reds guy. One of my first earliest games going was to the 1990 Reds NLCS against the Pirates in Game 2. He was a big Pete Rose guy. I was a big Pete Rose guy. I don't care about the off the field stuff. Listen, I want the guy on the plate with a hit needed. I don't want him to date my daughter. It's the two different worlds. I separate those things. So I know a lot of people don't and can't. But with that case, listen, Ty Cobb killed a guy. Babe Ruth was a known gambler. There's many of guys who've been connected to gambling in both baseball's Hall of Fame and football who's been as big as hypocritical about
covering up Shohei right now.
I mean, just let's be honest. I mean, and I'm not going to bring up the Jordan didn't retire. He was suspended for gambling conspiracy because that's a little bullshit. Even a conspiracist like me won't even believe that. But at least not for a year and a half. Maybe a year, but not a year and a half. David Stern was not giving up that cash cow for that long. So, but it's bullshit. I'm pissed off about it. I've been one of those very angry. He needs to be in Hall of Fame while he's alive, and he should have put in. And yeah, maybe he did gamble and he made mistakes and he lied about it. But who doesn't? Nobody's perfect. This is the Baseball Hall of Fame, not the Ethics Hall of Fame.
That's true.
All right, my cigarette went out in my rant. That's how long.
That's good
over here.
That's good. It means you're doing your job well.
Gentlemen, I guess the only last thing I want to bring up, since we haven't been on here, your Saints now have 2 former Louisville Cardinals roaming, and with David Carr, Derek Carr, one of those Cars, they both had concussions, so they don't know who they are either way. He's retired. It looks like Shuck is going to be the starter. Are you happy?
I'm not sure if it's going to be immediate. I feel like a lot of the New Orleans media I'm reading is seeming like they think it's going to be a battle, and they're going to feel like the person who's played the NFL snaps is going to get the immediate start. I think Shuck can probably win it by week 1, but definitely by week 2 or 3 he should be starting. I'm excited. Glad Carr retired. That this is a sign. This is a sign. This is the opportunity. These are the stars aligning for our boy Tyler Shuck to go and make a name for himself in the NFL pretty much immediately. So,
well, I mean, if there's any division you have a chance of pulling out the Cinderella story, it'd be the NFC South, which
that is 100% true.
Much for team. I mean, if Baker Mayfield can look like an all-star for back-to-back years in that division, anybody can. Will, anything last things you want to throw in there with us?
No. I think we touched on everything that we planned to. So
NBA wise, we'll hopefully do that on
NBA Real Spiel live show. The Real Spiel NBA show. God, I'm so sorry about that, fellas. Jesus Christ. Coming here in the next 48 hours.
All right, so stay tuned. I mean,
stay tuned.
Boy, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Who knows? Maybe we'll wake up at 3 in the morning. We'll be like, hey, let's do a show.
Might be next hour. Might be tomorrow. Might be the day after.
Tuesday. The game is tonight. All right. So till then, I guess, gentlemen, Will, I always love talking to you. Wigginton, I pronounced it correctly. And
if you want to sponsor us, Real Spill Pod on all platforms, including Gmail, just give us a shout.
Yeah, give us likes, subscribes, your phone number, money, hang out. I'll take shoes, and whatever. We're just like Goodwill. But
at Will Wigginton on Twitter. Sorry, we don't have his @ We're gonna get that put up here, but that's it from me.
You haven't earned it yet, Will. You have to earn. You have to earn.
He's earned.
Still got the training wheels on.
He's earned it. He's definitely earned it. All right, fellas. I'm good.
Peace out.
Go Cards.
Go Cards.